Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to really get into the story hidden inside what looks like, well, pretty dry market data. Our goal, take these detailed forecasts and turn them into clear, valuable insights, give you a shortcut to being properly informed. So what are we digging into? It's a deep dive into the global beaming machine market. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is a beaming machine? Well, think about that heavy-duty precision gear, the kind used for handling huge structural parts.
Right, like the massive cranes you see lifting steel beams for skyscrapers.
Exactly. Or maybe those robotic arms assembling giant components in factories. They're sort of the unsung heroes, ensuring things are precise and done at scale.
Yeah, across construction, agriculture, manufacturing, all sorts.
So understanding their market gives us a surprisingly good window into, well, broader economic stuff.
That's spot on. And our source for this is a really detailed forecast from Cognitive Market Research. Our mission today isn't just, reading out numbers. We want to get behind them. What do these figures actually tell us about global economic shifts or the pace of innovation, where industry is heading?
Okay, let's unpack that. We'll look at this through three main time points. 2021 gives us our starting point, our baseline.
Right, the past.
Then 2025, that's the near future projection.
Uh-huh.
And then we zoom out to 2033 for the long-term view. And it's actually pretty compelling, the story these numbers tell about growth and change globally.
Oh, okay.
So the big picture first, what does it look like?
Well, globally, this market is definitely set for some serious expansion.
Okay.
It was valued at roughly $118.5 million back in 2021.
Right, $118.5 million.
Projected to grow to about $140.5 million by 2025.
Okay, so a decent jump in the near term.
And then it really picks up pace, surging to nearly $198 million by 2033.
Wow, almost 200 million.
Exactly. And that reflects a pretty solid compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 4.36%.
4.36%. That gives us the overall context then before we drill down.
It does. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it just shows this steady, consistent demand for these kinds of foundational industrial machines all over the world. Take North America, for instance. It held a really significant share of that market,
Okay.
representing, roughly a third of the global total back in 2021?
Yeah, about a third sounds right.
And it's projected to climb steadily, too, maintaining a solid CAGR of just under 4%.
Okay, just under 4%.
Which really tells a story of, a mature market, but one with consistent, strong demand for industrial upgrades, maintenance, that sort of thing.
That makes sense. A strong, established base there. And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the biggest chunk.
Oh, absolutely. The United States is, the largest contributor by a long shot.
Right.
But what's kind of interesting is that while the U.S. grows steadily, you look at Canada, and it shows a more robust growth rate, closer to 4.8%.
4.8%. That's quite a bit higher. A significant jump for, a smaller market relative to the U.S.
It is.
What do you think might be driving that higher trajectory for Canada?
Well, it's a great point. I mean, the U.S. market is huge. It's diverse. Canada's higher CAGR, it could be down to more targeted investments.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in specific sectors like resource extraction or maybe advanced manufacturing kicking in, or possibly big infrastructure projects really hitting their stride. Sometimes a smaller market shows a higher percentage growth from specific concentrated investments, the kind that wouldn't move the needle quite as much in a massive economy like the U.S.
That makes sense. Specific projects having a bigger relative impact.
Exactly. And Mexico also shows solid growth there, which points to increasing industrialization happening too.
Okay, so let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe, also a major player, right?
Definitely. Though its overall growth trajectory is a bit lower compared to North America.
Okay.
Its revenue moved from around, $27.8 million in 2021, projected up to over $44 million by 2033. So still significant growth.
Oh, yeah. With a CAGR of just under 4%. Pretty close to North America's rate, actually.
Right. But you mentioned something striking earlier, the variation within Europe.
Absolutely. This is where it gets interesting. You see Germany, for example, showing a strong CAGR. It's over 4.6%.
Wow, 4.6% for Germany.
Yeah, growing from about 5.4 million to over $9 million.
Okay.
The UK and Spain also show good momentum. Both are over 4.2%.
All right, so strong performance there too.
But then you contrast that with countries like Russia or Luxembourg. Much lower growth rates.
Oh, how low?
Closer to maybe 2.5%, 2.6%.
Quite a difference.
It really highlights the different economic speeds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the different investment priorities across the continent, probably driven by varying levels of, industrial modernization, economic stability.
So if Europe shows that kind of varied momentum, it begs the question, where is the really explosive growth happening?
Well, that leads us straight to Asia Pacific.
Right.
That is where the growth story becomes, well, truly robust. Okay, lay it on us. What are the numbers?
This region grew from roughly $25.9 million in 2021
Okay.
to a projected $48.6 million by 2033.
48.6 million, so almost doubling.
Pretty much, and boasting an impressive 5.385% CAGR.
5.385%. Okay, that's clearly the fastest growing region in this market then.
By a significant margin, and it's not happening by accident.
No, I bet not.
And what's really fascinating here is drilling down within Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
China obviously leads in terms of sheer volume, projected to jump from about 7.8 million to over $15 million.
Big numbers there.
Japan also shows solid growth, over 4.6%, respectable.
Uh-huh.
But get this, India is the real standout, the star performer.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It's projected to more than double its market size.
Double. Wow.
Leading the pack with an incredible 6.184% CAGR.
6.184%. That's huge. That's the highest growth rate across all the countries we've looked at.
The highest one. Yes. It's a really powerful signal, a nation rapidly building out its industrial base.
That kind of aggressive growth in India, it's more than just a number, isn't it? It points to major national initiatives.
Absolutely.
We must be talking about serious government investment in infrastructure.
Hmm.
New roads, ports, that kind of thing.
Exactly that, combined with a booming domestic manufacturing sector.
Driven by those Make in India type policies, maybe, aimed at self-sufficiency.
Precisely. It suggests a really foundational shift in their economic landscape, kind of mirroring perhaps earlier growth stages we saw in other Asian powerhouses.
Interesting parallel. What other countries in that region are showing similar, maybe not that high, but strong momentum?
Well, alongside India, we see really impressive CAGRs in places like Singapore,
Okay.
over 5.8%. And Southeast Asia as a whole, nearly 6%.
Wow, so it's really widespread across the region then.
It absolutely underlines the rapid industrial and infrastructure development happening right across APAC. It feels like a really concerted push towards, advanced manufacturing, modernizing their whole industrial footprint.
Okay, fascinating stuff in Asia Pacific. Let's move on. What about South America? How does it stack up?
South America also shows strong potential, actually.
Yeah.
Its revenue increased from about $8.4 million in 2021 to projected nearly $14.5 million by 2033.
14.5 million. Okay.
And that comes with a 4.616% CAGR, so pretty healthy growth.
4.6%. That's solid. Any standouts within South America?
Argentina is showing particularly strong growth there, nearing 5.2%.
Interesting. Okay, what about the Middle East?
The Middle East also presents a picture of steady expansion, growing from about 7 million in 2021 to almost 12 million by 2033. That reflects a 4.517% CAGR.
4.5%. Again, pretty consistent.
Right. And what's compelling there is the significant momentum you see in countries like Turkey, with a 4.876% CAGR. And the UAE even higher, over 5.1%.
Over 5% for the UAE. That's quite strong.
It is, and it clearly indicates, substantial investment in diversifying their economies, moving beyond just oil, building out robust industrial bases.
Makes sense. Building for the future. And finally, let's look at Africa. How's the picture there?
Africa recorded revenues of around 4.4 million back in 2021.
Okay, starting from a smaller base.
Smaller base, yes. Projected to reach about 7.4 million by 2033.
7.4 million.
Which gives it a solid 3.971% CAGR.
Just under 4%. So maybe not as explosive as Asia Pacific, but still a very respectable growth path for an emerging market area.
Definitely. It's steady progress.
Any particular countries driving that in Africa?
Within Africa, South Africa kind of leads the way, growing from about 1.8 million to over 3.2 million. That gives it a solid 4.544% CAGR.
Okay, over 4.5% for South Africa.
And Nigeria also shows good progress, over 4.2%.
Right, so it signals this sort of accelerating pace of emerging industrial needs, infrastructure development across parts of the continent.
Exactly. It's building momentum. So if we just pull back for a second and recap that key global narrative.
Yeah, let's bring it all together.
The beaming machine market overall is just steadily expanding, almost doubling in size, remember? From around 118.5 million in 2021
Uh-huh.
to nearly 198 million projected by 2033. It's kind of a quiet story, maybe, but a really significant one about global industrial evolution.
It really is. And the drivers behind this steady climb, the ones highlighted in the source,
Hmm.
what were they again?
Well, it boils down to a few key trends. Increasing industrial automation is a big one.
Right. Needing machines to do more.
The demand for precision engineering, just getting things exactly right, especially in manufacturing and construction.
Lee says.
And of course, the significant regional infrastructure developments we talked about.
Yeah, you can almost picture these machines being just essential, can't you? For building new factories or helping expand agriculture with modern tech, constructing the next wave of, city and national infrastructure.
Right. Absolutely essential. And we can quickly pinpoint those standout regional performances again.
Yeah, good idea.
Asia Pacific clearly emerges as the fastest growing region overall, with that really robust 5.385% CAGR.
Right.
But even more striking, maybe, is that exceptional growth in specific countries, especially India, leading the charge with that incredible 6.184% CAGR.
The highest rate across all countries analyzed,
Yeah,
driven by those big national development plans we discussed.
exactly.
But it wasn't just Asia Pacific lighting things up, was it?
No, not at all. We also saw other regions showing really solid momentum.
Right, specifically South America,
Uh-huh.
the Middle East,
Yep.
and North America too, each contributing their own sort of unique share to the overall expansion, reflecting different stages of industrial maturity, different investment cycles,
Though what's really important here, I think, is the practical application of all these insights.
how people can use this.
Yeah, these figures aren't just, academic points. They are genuinely invaluable for anyone in equipment manufacturing, for instance.
Or investors, maybe, looking at where to put capital.
Absolutely. Or for strategic planners trying to map out future industrial landscapes, future supply chains. It's real-world data.
So, tying it all together, what does this mean for you listening in? Well, maybe consider how this kind of granular data from what seems like a niche market, right? Beaming machines,
Mm.
how it can actually serve as a pretty powerful barometer for these much broader trends, global industrial development, technological adoption.
Such a good indicator.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What other seemingly small market segments might hold similar, maybe surprising clues about the future of industry and infrastructure around the world?
That's a great takeaway thought.
And just a reminder, all the figures and the insights we've discussed today came directly from that detailed forecast by Cognitive Market Research. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a plunge into a corner of the textile world. It's absolutely crucial, but often overlooked. The beaming machine market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't just about big, clunky machinery. It's dynamic. It's evolving fast,
It really is.
driven by tech breakthroughs, industrial growth, and, well, the changing demands for how we make fabrics globally. Our mission, like always, is to give you that shortcut, get you really well informed, maybe with a few surprising facts and those aha moments along the way. Okay, let's unpack this.
And it really is foundational, like you said. I mean, think about it. Beaming machines are right there at the start of making fabric. They prep thousands, literally thousands of individual yarns, winding them precisely onto these huge beams.
Right, the beams that feed the looms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which then goes straight into high-speed weaving. An error right there. It can ripple through thousands of meters of fabric, just wasted.
Wow, yeah.
So their efficiency, their precision, it directly impacts productivity, sure, but also the final quality of the fabric itself. So today, we'll explore the key forces, the dynamics shaping this market. We'll break down the drivers pushing it, the restraints maybe holding it back a bit, and the really exciting trends pointing to where it's all headed.
Okay.
By the end, you'll have a crystal clear picture of this critical industry backbone.
All right, so let's start with that momentum. What's really pushing this market forward right now?
Well, the big one is just the overall expansion in textiles and apparel globally. More clothes, more fabrics, more demand.
Makes sense. Basic supply and demand.
Pretty much. But underneath that, like you hinted, there are some really transformative things happening. Technology, automation.
Yeah, tell me about that. The tech progress sounds fascinating.
It is. We're talking machines with really advanced sensors. They're monitoring yarn tension constantly, super precisely. Computerized control systems that can almost, anticipate issues before they happen.
Like predictive analysis.
Sort of, yeah. And even things like automatic defect detection built right in. It's not just about raw speed anymore.
It's precision.
Exactly. A level of precision that honestly was kind of unthinkable maybe a decade ago.
Huh. And what about customization? You mentioned that too.
Right. There's this growing demand for more flexibility, for machines that can handle different types of jobs, different yarns, different setups. So that's leading to some really interesting modular designs, multifunctional machines.
Okay, so lots of forward momentum from tech and demand. But yeah, there have to be challenges too, right? What's holding things back?
Oh, absolutely. Every industry has its bottlenecks. And this one's no different. There are significant hurdles. A major one is simply the cost, the high initial capital investment.
These machines aren't cheap.
Not at all.
Mhm.
Buying state-of-the-art beaming tech, that's a massive undertaking for any company, big or small.
Okay. What else?
Then there's the complexity. Maintaining these advanced machines, it's not simple. And finding and keeping skilled workers who can operate them, troubleshoot them effectively, that's a persistent demand, a challenge.
So high cost and the need for specialized skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And layered on top of that, you've got the inherent risks, fluctuations in raw material supply, cotton prices, synthetic fibers.
Right, that can change quickly.
Uh-huh. And just the broader cycles of global textile demand. It can be unpredictable sometimes. It's tied to the whole textile industry's ups and downs.
That sounds like a real tightrope walk, balancing that big investment against market stability.
It can be.
But okay, even with those challenges, you mentioned exciting trends earlier. Things that point to a promising future. What's one trend you think is really transformative right now?
Oh, definitely the integration with Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing.
Okay, Industry 4.0, what does that actually mean for a beaming machine?
Well, think about machines with IoT capabilities. Internet of Things. Essentially, they're connected. They're talking to each other, talking to the cloud, sharing data constantly in real time.
Okay.
And this enables things like predictive maintenance, using AI to figure out if a machine might fail before it actually does.
Avoiding downtime.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is hugely expensive. And it allows for really sophisticated data analytics, fine-tuning every single aspect of the operation for maximum efficiency.
So the beaming machines are getting smart, almost self-aware in a way. That's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
It is, yeah. The potential is huge.
What else is on the horizon? Any other big trends?
Another really big push is towards sustainability.
Yeah.
Eco-friendly designs, energy efficiency.
The green aspect.
Definitely. Manufacturers are seriously focused on developing machines that use drastically less energy, ones that minimize yarn wastage through, more precise handling and control,
Less waste is always good.
and even operating with less noise pollution in the factory. This isn't just like a marketing buzzword either.
No.
No, it's fundamental now. It's driven by regulations, yes, but also by real consumer demand for a greener textile industry overall. People want sustainable products.
Right, from start to finish. Okay, smart machines, green machines. And you also mentioned expansion, particularly in Asia Pacific.
Absolutely. That's a powerful trend, a significant expansion wave in Asia Pacific and other emerging economies.
What's driving that specifically?
Well, countries like India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, they're rapidly becoming, global hubs for textile manufacturing.
We hear about that a lot.
Yeah, and it's not by accident. It's often fueled by substantial government incentives trying to attract that industry, plus significant investment, both foreign and domestic. And they're building up a growing skilled labor pool, too.
So they're really positioning themselves.
They are. They're leveraging cost advantages, market access, basically becoming the world's production powerhouses for textiles.
Hmm.
So yeah, by the end of this deep dive, you'll really see how all these pieces fit together. Technology, economics, global shifts. It's all connected in this critical market. What's really fascinating here is how this market, the beaming machine market, it's truly riding the momentum of several big global shifts at once. Industrial automation, for one, sustainability goals, and this resurgence or maybe intensification of textile manufacturing in key regions.
Right.
We've seen how the drivers that global textile growth, the automation leaps, the demand for customization are pushing innovation, really pushing it forward.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the restraints, those high capital costs we talked about, the need for skilled labor, the market volatility. It creates a complex landscape. It's not straightforward.
Definitely not.
Still, the trends are really strong. Industry 4.0 integration, eco-friendly designs becoming standard, not optional, and that huge expansion, especially in Asia Pacific, It's all opening up, abundant opportunities for growth despite the challenges.
Yeah.
If we kind of connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah, let's do that. Because it means this seemingly niche market, right? Beaming machines.
Yeah.
It actually impacts so much more than you might first think. Yeah. I mean, it underpins everything. The clothes you're wearing right now, the textiles in your home,
Absolutely.
even advanced industrial fabrics.
Yeah.
Stuff used in, I don't know, medical devices, aerospace, things you wouldn't even connect to textiles usually.
Exactly. It's foundational.
So understanding these market dynamics, it gives you real insight
Mm-hmm.
into global manufacturing shifts, sure, but also into how fast technology is moving
Mm-hmm.
and that growing emphasis on environmental responsibility. It affects industries way beyond just textiles. It really shows you how this one indispensable piece of machinery is right at the core of a massive global industry and how it's constantly adapting to demand, to innovation. So what does this all really mean for you listening right now?
Well, I think this raises a really important question for you to consider. As textile manufacturing keeps transforming digitally, globally, it's happening fast. How will that increasing demand for the really advanced stuff, the smart, the sustainable machinery, how will that reconcile with the need for accessibility, for affordability?
Right. Especially for maybe smaller companies.
Exactly. Particularly for smaller enterprises, maybe in those emerging regions that are becoming so critical to the industry's growth. How do they afford the cutting edge?
That's a tough balance.
It is. It's a balance that's going to shape the future of how textiles get made everywhere. So maybe keep exploring that. Think about how these big technological leaps in specific industries like this one actually reflect much broader economic shifts and environmental ones too. It's all connected.